Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
The Rev and the Rabbi. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Good morning. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
Reverend, this has been a very, very difficult week. In our city, in our country, four funerals in 1 week. And we have with us today someone who protects us. And that's the Fire Commissioner of the City of New York, the 35th Commissioner, Robert S. Tucker. Commissioner, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Before you get on the air, you said, it's painful, but we also live in a great, great city. When you hear the resumes of the people who are buried, I was listening to a funeral presentations today for a young woman who was with Blackstone. And Wesley Lepatner. To hear her husband speak and all the other family members, you realize there is greatness among us, which makes it all the more tragic. But I think we also have to recognize that there are people who do great things to make it a better world, and we shouldn't minimize their efforts. Let's talk about, you've been involved in safety for many years, Commissioner. You look at this, and there are people who second guess. Well, if they had done this or they had done it, what good is it to second guess, especially by people who don't know, don't have the background?
I appreciate all of that, Rabbi. It has been a very hard week for first responders, for our entire city. And you're right, these people who perished so senselessly at 345 Park Avenue the other night, I'm literally speechless. I'm still shocked by what happened in our wonderful city. I don't think it's time yet to start to try to understand how this happened. I think what we need to focus on are really, and especially a young police officer with a pregnant wife. It's just broken the hearts of first responders all over New York City.
Yeah. Well, you're surrounded by people who are ready to sacrifice their lives to save lives. What is it in that DNA, right? I mean, what does that mean? Some people would never think of that. How's that possible?
Right. You're right. I was so proud of the FDNY on that evening. First of all, we have a firehouse with an engine and a ladder company and a battalion chief a block away on 51st and Lexington. Mm-hmm. They were on the scene almost immediately, rendering life-saving and care to victims who were shot. But then our rescue task force, our firefighters, our EMTs, our paramedics, who put on bulletproof vests and go into a building where there's an active shooter. If ever there was a time to thank a cop or thank a firefighter or thank a paramedic or an EMT, it's now. Because I witnessed firsthand in chaos with victims, our people going into the building, first responding in while everyone else was running out.
Reverend?
Yeah, I just, it's amazing the amount of stress that's associated with first responders, their jobs. We take that for granted quite often. I attended the funeral of the officer Islam at the mosque this past week, and the CO of the 47 precinct talked about the fact that often when police officers are looked at by the public, or they see the uniform, and they don't see that that's a family man. That's a person whose family is hoping that they'll come home at the end of the day. And now we have to think like that as citizens, because Julia Hyman, she expected to be home at the end of the day. It speaks a lot to what's happening in our society and how it's changing the way we live. Gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, look, these are Julia Hyman and Wesley and the security guard, everyone that was taken from us. These were incredible people. I police officer, I was at his funeral. I listened to the funerals at Central Synagogue. These are super people. They're extraordinary people. At the beginning of their lives, who knows what they were capable of impacting? Who knows? I mean, at such a young age, they have already impacted so much, so significantly. It's just all of these tragedies hit home, but this one certainly hit home for me.
Maybe it says to us that we ought to deepen our appreciation for people. When you look at social media, when you look at some of the first 3 pages of certain newspapers, all you see are the negatives. All you see are the disheartening stories that really make it difficult to get up and go through the day. And then you hear these other stories and you say, my God, we really need to step back a bit and say thank you to all of those who are there for us, all of us who try to enrich the lives of their families and those privileged to know these individuals. But, let's be a little more deliberate before we start criticizing the other human being.
Every single day that I have been as the New York City Fire Commissioner, I have met and watched how brilliantly the FDNY operates. And some of the greatest human beings I've ever met, some of the most humble human beings I've ever met, doing some of the hardest, scariest work I've ever seen. And they do it without any question. You call us, we will come.
It's also a testimony to New Yorkers. I lived in New York City, grew up in New York City, and there's just something special about New Yorkers, especially in the face of crisis. If anything tends to unite us, it's whenever there's a crisis that we have to transcend all of our social and political differences and begin to extend a helping hand to each other. Has that been what you have witnessed, Commissioner?
Yeah, I mean, I see our firefighters, our EMTs and paramedics going out there every day, going way beyond. I know someone's going to say, well, that's what they get paid for. Of course it's what they get paid for, but they're going so far beyond what they get paid for every day. And they are so humble about it. And we should all be so grateful for our first responders, including, obviously, the NYPD, who did such a great job. But remember, we're all working together like a ballet or like a fine orchestra during an incident like the other night.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, no, he raised a good point. That's what they get paid for, but how much can you really pay for a person's life? I mean, yes, we say that's what they get paid for, but I don't think they get paid enough. I'll probably get in trouble with this, but I don't think they get paid enough, because every day when they leave their home, they pray to make it back home. How do you live a life like that?
Can I just add something to that, Rev? I've spoken to firefighters over the years. even if you offer them more compensation, but for a different position, they're not accepting it. This is what they want to do. It's their
got to be
calling.
more than the money,
right?
Yeah,
It's their
more than the
commitment,
money.
right, Commissioner?
Yeah, believe me, they're not there for the money. You know that.
Yep.
They're not
Yep.
making enough that they could be there for the money. What they're there for is to serve the nearly 9 million people of New York City.
Yeah. Let's take a break. We're going to come back with more with Commissioner Robert Tucker, FDNY. Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
We are talking with the 35th Commissioner of the Fire Department of New York City, Robert S. Tucker. You know, Rev, I've said to you many times that in the Talmud, Jewish interpretation of the Torah, it begins on page 2, not page 1. And I think one of the lessons that we unfortunately have to learn in life is that sometimes page 1 is taken from you. How do you begin again on page 2? That's something that FDNY, NYPD, and having gone through a week like this and other tragedies in the respective histories of the department, somehow rebuilding does take place. And Commissioner, you've seen it. You've helped implement it. I was talking to Commissioner Cassano this past week. By the way, he listens to the program, so you're being monitored while you speak.
He's a mentor of mine. I just hope he thinks I'm doing an all right job.
He's very, 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 very impressed with your accomplishments. But that also, there's a certain spirit. I mean, you have a choice. You can retreat and succumb to this passive resignation, or you can say, no, we're going to go forward. And I think you've shown us, as others have, that we can stand still. Talk about some of the things that you have done, you have seen, that have, the catalyst for change.
Look, when I was given the honor to lead the FDNY by Mayor Adams, I didn't just take the job to coast along. I wanted to run it like the CEO that I am. I've spent 25 years running a business, and I brought those skills to the FDNY. So I don't just view myself as the FDNY commissioner. I view myself very much as the CEO of the FDNY. And I have tried in the last 11 months to tackle some of the problems that I think everyone would admit have been around for a long time. Namely, I'll give you two. I've tackled more than two, but I'll talk about two. The first problem is the emergency medical service. Merged into the fire department from the Health and Hospitals Corporation 25 years ago, but really never merged. And I have undertaken to begin that process, to do everything from keep the same 10 codes on our radio system so that we speak the same language. Currently, we're not even speaking the same language on separate radio systems, to geographies. What we call FDNY Division 1 is not the same as EMS Division 1, so we have different nomenclature for the geographies in New York City. And to really try to bring some attention to what I think is, I've called it the biggest crisis in public safety nationally that nobody's talking about. There is a shortage of EMTs everywhere in the country, and New York is feeling the pain. We have lots and lots of migration from our ambulance to our fire trucks. Over a period of 4 years, you're able to do that. We have a recruiting problem because nobody wants to come work just as an EMT if it's not a path to improve your career by going to fire operations. And we're really tackling it at all levels. And then there's response times. You know, we have turned into a bit of a cab service for New Yorkers. People are calling 911 that do not need an ambulance. And I want to remind everyone, there is an E in EMS, and that E stands for emergency. So when you have a boo-boo, you don't need to call an ambulance. You don't need to call 911. And so if we could lower the number of boo-boos that we take care of because we come to everything, we could probably save more people in cardiac arrest, because once we're at a boo-boo, we're not able to go to the cardiac arrest, and that person dies.
Commissioner, I'm glad we shifted the conversation to specifically your responsibility as commissioner. You respond to I think it's 1.5 million emergency calls annually, which includes fires, medical emergencies, hazardous material incidents, and large-scale disasters, of course. That's a lot. That's a high volume of calls that you have to respond to. So it's interesting that you say if we can cut back on the boom boos
Yeah.
out of that 1.5 million, it can be reduced dramatically.
Yeah, and the
Yes.
number is significantly higher. We do more than 1.6 million ambulance calls a year before
Wow.
you get to the fire calls. Remember, also 50% of our fire engine operations are backing up our ambulances. So the future. Listen, the future of the FDNY is EMS, and if we don't focus on it today, our future is bleak. And
Wow.
and that's what I'm bringing to the FDNY today is a keen focus on EMS and pre-hospital care. And it's not just in New York, although that's where my responsibilities end. But FDNY is a leader in the world. And as FDNY goes, whether it's on EMS or on lithium-ion batteries, the rest of the world follows us. We have a high-rise fire symposium in New York City coming up. We've got firefighters from all over the world coming to New York City to learn how FDNY approaches high-rise fires. Everything we do in FDNY, we are the leaders in, and we have to lead in pre-hospital care as well.
So you said
It's
you need
interesting.
more EMTs. How do you do? So how does one? I mean, recruitment obviously has been going on for some time, but what else has to be done to get more?
Yeah, I mean, we've created, the back doors that have been created prior to my becoming commissioner have become the front doors. So as I said, the next 1,500 probationary firefighters who will be in our academy will come from EMS. Unfortunately, that migration does not have 1,500 candidates waiting at the door to become EMTs. We have less than 300. And ergo the crisis. And so we're reaching out to houses of worship, Rev, for example. We're reaching out to the military. We're going places that we have not gone in the past to try to entice people to come into the business of pre-hospital care. We're still the best in the world at EMS. But
Yeah, we've
done.
I was just going to say, we've done several recruiting partnerships with FDNY coming in. We have a long-term relationship with you guys.
Yeah.
We have graduations for
Yep.
EMS, EMT, and firefighters, etc. So we have that partnership, but you're absolutely right. It's tough to recruit people into it. It's interesting that you say the future of New York City is EMS. Uh, what is it? The messaging that needs to be tightened up to get that word out there. Is there less interest in it? What is it exactly?
Look, it's a very hard job. It's a very it's almost unfair how hard we work EMTs and paramedics. It's at the call volume, we're talking about almost 5,000 calls a day. There's very little time to eat lunch and to go to the bathroom. And it's call after call after call. And what I really think would help the morale and help recruiting is if we could start to care for the sick more than we care for the boo-boos. The problem is it's demoralizing to go to a scrape. When I used to play in Central Park as a young boy growing up in Manhattan, and I would skin my knee, there was no cell phone to call my mom or anyone else for that matter. I went home, and several times I went home, and then I had to go get stitches. I didn't call an ambulance. My mom took me to Lenox Hill Hospital near where we lived, and I got a couple stitches in my knee. Once my left knee, once my right knee, once my arm. Today you would be very disappointed in the public calling 911 for nothing near an emergency.
Yeah.
And we arrive at these patients and their bags are packed. They're really just using us like a taxi, and we are not a taxi service.
Before we conclude, Commissioner, I think one of the things that you've taught me and others as well in the department is the best way to fight a fire is to prevent a fire. And I see cars that are parked near hydrants, double parked, blocking fire trucks from passing properly. I think we can all do a lot more to help the FDNY.
On that topic, I just can't believe how often I have to remind people not to park on fire hydrants. I just don't. Something's disconnected here. When you park on a fire hydrant, you prevent a fire engine from getting water to put the fire out. And now we've had several fires where people have died because a car was parked on a fire hydrant. Now, I'm not saying it's a direct correlation, but it slowed us down. And the truth of the matter is, I don't understand why I have to tell people, please don't park on fire hydrants. And they park on fire hydrants in front of their own homes for their own convenience. Something has gone awry here. Please don't park on fire hydrants.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
I think we tend to see it as a restricted parking space instead of an emergency tool that's needed in case of a fire. Yeah. I get it.
All right. Commissioner, thank you. By the way, Rev and I are ready to volunteer to serve at the FDNY, become firefighters. Or you're not that desperate yet?
We're all too old, guys. 3 old men on this call.
Yeah. Well, listen, I've been chaplain for more than 25 years, and the Rev recently became an honorary chaplain. It's a great honor. It's a great honor, and to be surrounded by great people under your leadership makes it even more special. Thank you for all you do.
That. Thank you, guys, and thank you for all you do. Yeah, thank you both.
Excellent.
Really.
All right.
Stay safe, stay strong.
Stay tuned for more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on Red Apple Radio Network.
The Rev and the Rabbi on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.